Listen, if you're a fan of any of the teams in the AFC West, this episode's for you. You guys are going to take and find out why the AFC West is about to be the next most competitive division in the NFL. Folks, I got special guests with me, my brother Isaac and my good friend Mike joining me today. We're going to break down each team's offseason moves, and each team is ultimately going to get a grade. Stay tuned because you don't want to miss this.
It's time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.
We're going to take it out. We got the general in charge. We got Mr. Mike Williams, diehard Broncos fans, in case you ain't know. Mike, man, what we got, man? Who we grading? Who's getting Fs? Who's getting Bs? Who's getting As? Talk to me, man.
Hey, man. So I'll start it off with the, 2 year ago Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. I really can't stand the Chiefs because I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm being impartial here, right? We gotta be real. I like them re-signing DeMarcus Robinson because he fits their offense very well. Tajay Sharp, I thought, was a good signing. Getting Kyle Long out of retirement, and he was a persistent Pro Bowler. He was a perennial Pro Bowler. That's what I meant to say. He was a Pro Bowler consistently. Joe Thuney was their line was kind of weak last year. And I know people look at the tackle position, but that was a phenomenal signing. I think that might have been one of the best signings the whole offseason for that squad specifically. Taco Charlton taking a flyer on him, and Jaron Reed I liked a lot. He's a player I like a lot watching him in Seattle. I'll give them a solid A. I'll give them an A minus. And I think people were a little bit interested in saying, hey, we got rid of both of our starting tackles. Who's coming in next? But they drafted last year Lucas Nyang, who opted out. They had another tackle that opted out. So I think those guys can step in this year. They'll have a very solid core. 4 of their 5 offensive line positions I think are very solid. And you have a Patrick Mahomes, which definitely buys you some flexibility. I'll be excited when we play them, but I think overall by the end of the year that team's going to gel. I'd give them an A. What do you guys think?
For me, I love that they picked up 3 old linemen. Man, I love that because after that Super Bowl, well, you don't want to waste $500 million on a quarterback after one bad game.
Well, running for his life,
Forrest Gump style. He's just out there, But yeah, Joe Thuney, Kyle Long, veteran Kyle Long, tons of experience. I love that pickup. Absolutely love it. You guys out there trying to get a chip. Mike Remmers and stuff like that. Taco Charlton, I mean, that's a good pickup, man. I mean, when he was on Miami last year, it was not too long ago. He balled out. He did really good. I mean, he led the team in sacks. So that's a guy I'm really happy to see him get another shot, especially on a contending team, kind of thing. But overall, I'd have to give them. I like to see them get better wide receivers. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Not, wow, this is so great. But those O linemen, man. So for that reason, I'm gonna take and give them a B+.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I mean, they've done all their heavy lifting by getting all their main guys signed. Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, all those guys. So, I mean, I think they really did a good job supplementing those signings because, I mean, that's a lot of money tied into a handful of guys. But with what they've done, I can't find. I say that's an A2 because, like you said, that O-line was atrocious. Not by design, more so by injury. But I mean, it's a gladiator sport, so no one's gonna weep for you if you get hurt. That's just part of the game. So I think they did a really good job of kind of reloading on that front as well. So like I said, it's the Chiefs, so we'll see. They'll for sure be exciting at the very least and a contender. So it's up to one of y'all. Somebody got to take them out.
100%. The next team I'd roll into, I'll say the Raiders, man. I think the biggest thing with them is like they had a top 5 offensive line last year. I know we've been talking about offensive line a lot, but to get rid of Trent Bound, Gabe Jackson, Rodney Hudson in one offseason, I don't know what they're doing. I don't like that in itself. To me, that's going to give you not a good grade, right? Especially if you don't have young talent maybe replacing it. They lost Nelson Aguilar, who had a resurgence last year. They lost Terrell Williams, LaMarcus Joyner. Like, they lost a lot of playmakers, right? They added Yannick Ngakoue, which I like that a lot. I like the Solomon Thomas signing. I know he's coming off of an injury, but I feel like if he can kind of come in with Joey Bosa and Yannick Ngakoue around him, that could make them, that could be a team to be feared. So on the front, but I think they're improving your D line and dismantling your offensive line isn't the best strategy. I'd give them a D. I mean, they didn't add any weapons either. I mean, they added John Brown, but you got Henry Ruggs. That's kind of a repeat. Henry Ruggs is a worst case scenario. He'd be a John Brown. So why would you sign John Brown, right? So I feel like they didn't go get a number one receiver. They didn't improve their offensive line, which are two needs that they had. Signing Kenyon Drake, I thought was a good signing in case Josh Jacobs gets hurt because he's had a few injury issues. Like that's a good replacement, I think. But it's hard when you lose that many Pro Bowl players. Like they had a top 3, top 4 line, and I'd say they'd have a tough time being top half of the league after losing those players and losing Nelson Aguilar, who had a phenomenal year. So I'd have a tough time giving them a grade higher than that.
Dang. Okay. We reverse roles, Mike. We reverse roles. Yeah, man. For me, man, I've always had a problem, since I've always had a problem, but John Gruden, him coming back, he's their best and worst enemy of that team. You know what I mean? He knows how to build a team. I will say he knows how to build a team. A lot of these are depth signings kind of thing. I'm seeing guys then beefing up the O-line, you know what I mean? I see them beefing up the D-line as well, too. And then, of course, I really like the signing of Kenyon Drake, man. That backfield is about to be ferocious. Knowing that you have a better O-line than what you had last year, you got some new weapons in John Brown and Zay Jones coming out there as well, too. I would just give him a solid, I give him a solid B. You know what I mean? There's some good names, some very familiar names. Yannick Ngakoue, definitely the best defensive signing. As far as O-lineman, you got Rich Incognito. He came back from the Klan rally. And then, and then, of course, you got guys like Solomon Thomas on the D-line as well, too. So, you got some pretty good players. So, yeah, I'll give it a solid B.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Mike. I don't know what they're doing either. There's sometimes it's like, oh, John Gruden, he seems like a genius. And other times it's like, yo, you probably could have just stayed in South Beach, retired, like you didn't really have to do anything. Because, I mean, if you're going to bolster your D-line, but also just dismantle your O-line, and your best O-line signing is, a former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, I don't know if that's a push to me. You know what I mean? That's a neutral, it's a net, it's nothing. You know what I mean? So I see them as just the same team that they've been. They'll show flashes. They'll probably have 7 or 8 wins next year. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I see, maybe, that's what I give them.
Yeah, I agree. I'll get some good input for sure. I'll move to the Chargers. I got to save the best for last. So I'm going to move on to the Chargers for this. So they I know it kind of sounds like I'm starting off like with negatives or whatever, but I mean, they lost Tyrod Taylor, right? They lost
Keep it a buck.
They lost Denzel Perryman, right? They lost Rayshon Jenkins, which you talked about. They lost Sam Tevy to the Colts. They had a lot of losses, and they did sign Corey Linsley. I thought that was phenomenal for them. Jared Cook is like 100 years old, so he'll apparently they like old tight ends. I think that's okay, solid blocker. Michael Davis, re-signing him, I thought that was cool. But like, again, they didn't move the needle. Like, what did they do? And again, that's a team I can say that they did have a lot of injuries. They were the second most injured team last year in our division besides the Broncos. But I'd give them a C, I think at the most, because I think they're kind of banking on some of their injured players coming back a little bit healthier, but they need offensive line help desperately. They need another receiver. They need some more corners. Like they need a safety now, and Derwin James has been hurt. So I just feel like they need some stuff that they could have addressed pretty affordably that they didn't take care of. I give them like a CC minus. That's about it.
I'll go next. I give them an F plus.
F plus.
F plus. First time on the touchdown with Doug Smith. Congratulations, Chargers. You did it. I like the old lineman signing. I'll say that was the plus part. That's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, they didn't move the needle. They're just a team. Bright young quarterback in Justin Herbert.
But I think he'll have a sophomore slump. Go ahead.
Yeah, you've not been high on him for a while. But I think he's got it, but you did absolutely nothing to help him out. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens next year. But another team I see just they'll get some wins. About it. So D minus maybe.
Like it.
I had the high grade and I can't stand the Chargers, man. That's great. And last the Broncos, man, and this is I want this to sound this is going to be unbiased. I want people to understand this is unbiased, but I like George Payton coming in and making re-signing your players a priority because with John Elway, he was always trying to win the negotiations, not trying to necessarily re-sign guys. Guys didn't feel they were going to get re-signed. They knew, hey, I'm playing here to go get paid somewhere else, like Adam Gotsis, Derek Wolfe, Malik Jackson. All those players were doing well and left, right, under his tenure. But this year, I think him coming in, re-signing Shelby Harris, which is, if you watch him play, if he plays your team, he's playing. Does that make sense? Like he's a guy, he's one of the 3 linemen in the NFL that has, 20 sacks, 15 batted balls in his career so far. That's active playing. So he's definitely gets his hand on the ball. Justin Simmons, arguably the best safety in the NFL, getting a long-term deal done with him. Bringing Kareem Jackson back on a 1-year, $5 million deal when he had a $13 million cap hit. I thought that was brilliant. Ronald Darby, getting him, I thought was good. He's a very solid corner too, very good in man coverage, which we do run a lot of. Kyle Fuller, I thought was a phenomenal signing. Again, Kyle Fuller, I wish we would have gave Kyle Fuller Ronald Darby's money and maybe Ronald Darby a little bit less, and or not draft or not sign Ronald Darby and got somebody in the draft. But and then Adam Mike Boone, who we've had some special teams issues. He's been a phenomenal special teams player. He has the potential to be a running back too. A number 2 running back. So I think, and the loss that hurts me the most, obviously, Philip Lindsay. I got to touch on that, of course, but that was one of my favorite players, undrafted rookie. Had more 1,000-yard seasons coming into this year than Melvin Gordon did, but he had a few injuries. He kind of, for the offense that Pat Shurmur runs, he's not necessarily the best back for that. So I definitely wish him the best with the Texans, but that's the only real loss that I was like, oh man, like what are we gonna do? Because I think we do have a little bit of a question mark after Melvin Gordon at the running back position now with him gone. But I give us a solid A, man, because our defense now, you look at Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, Justin Simmons, the secondary we have now, I think that's going to put us top 3 secondary, top 5 defense easily. And then we had a very young offense last year, so giving them another offseason to grow, I would give us a solid A. And that's not being biased. That's just, all the moves we made looked very well thought out.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I do like Shelby Harris a lot as one of those underrated players that I think needs to get more accolades around the league because he's all around, like you said, he's all around the ball. So getting him back was smart, and seeing his press conference was good. I like seeing guys get paid that deserve it. As for Ronald Darby, that is a solid signing. I would have probably wanted you guys to pay like maybe $2 million less because he is a solid man cornerback. Rarely gets beat deep on man, but when he does get beat deep, you're gonna know it was his fault. But having a Justin Simmons behind him, I think will elevate his game even more. So I don't think that's it. If I have to split hairs, I guess that's still a solid signing. No, honestly, I feel the same. I think you guys did really well in your signings and should be back, where you were. We'll see, how the offense gels and whatnot, but I think your defense definitely gives you a chance to be in every game you're in.
I agree. Ditto. Absolutely. I give the Broncos a solid B. They were able to take and maintain a lot of that great talent. Before the season, I believe I had you guys coming in second place in the division with at least 10 wins. I believe it was like 10-6. I said something like that. Drew Lock was going to have a great year, possibly, Pro Bowl quarterback, and then all the injuries happen. I mean, the avalanche. I mean, there's a lot of snow in Colorado. There's avalanche injuries that just hit the Broncos, man. But I believe that revenge is the dish best served cold. I see it. They're making a lot of really, really great changes on the back end, man. And I want to see a little bit more, but I'm gonna give them a solid B. I like what's happening in Denver.
Yeah, that's good. I think the only move that I didn't like that we could have made is a competition for Drew Lock. Like, I think I'm a Drew Lock fan. You already know that. I think he's going to be good. But I think having somebody that came in to kind of push him a little bit, like a veteran quarterback, would have been good. I didn't see us do anything yet. I mean, there's still time before the draft. You know, free agency's not quite done yet. But the players I would have liked for us to sign aren't there anymore at that position to kind of push them. But other than that, man, I think it was a pretty solid offseason.
It's time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.